Welcome to another episode of the Groow Zone. We are so excited to have you guys here. This lovely, handsome gentleman, my co-host and husband. Say your name, babe. Let them know who you are.
My name is Keion Aloysius Dwayne Henderson III, not the second.
Wow, that was long. Well, all of what he said, and I are super happy to have you guys here. You know, we started this podcast to really just share our conversations.
Yeah.
We literally were growing within our own conversations, and we were like, we should be sharing this with folks. And we have seen the numbers. We see you guys are watching and loving, what's happening here. We're growing. We're hoping you're growing. And we just hope you stay on this journey with us.
Yeah, I'm excited about it,
yeah.
babe. Like, we look at those numbers grow, and here we are thinking, we start out as an audience of 2, and now thousands have come along and millions to come. It's amazing.
It's fun. It's fun. It's like we are having our own little therapy session in front of all of you guys.
Right.
And sharing our craziness. But in our craziness is so much growth, which is why this is named the Groow Zone, which, by the way, was my genius husband's idea. He thought of the Groow Zone. He actually drew it. I wish that I had that drawing today, because although he is my genius husband, if you had seen this drawing, you might want to question what level of genius he actually is.
Wait.
Because the drawing was giving... You know what? You actually could sell your drawing, because look at the drawing behind you. It was similar to that.
You wanted to say amazing. I know what you meant to say.
Absolutely. Wall-worthy amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Did you tell him what it was?
No, I think you should, because I don't know if I could explain it correctly.
Okay, so this is how the Groow Zone's name came about. I said, babe, let's create an environment that protects people while they grow.
Yes, you did.
And then I said, what does that? I said, the ozone. It protects the earth.
That's what you said.
While everything grows. And I said, why don't we create the Groow ozone?
Yep.
And I drew it, and I showed how all the ultraviolet rays was trying to get in and trying to attack. But then I drew my ozone to protect it. And I thought it was a work of art. Like, I literally thought, you know what? This is so good. I didn't know I had this kind of talent.
Wow. Is that what you thought?
That's what I thought. Okay. I think that's what you thought. I would like to hear it.
Yeah. I thought that had I gone off of the drawing to understand the name of this podcast, I would have never figured that out. But your explanation was amazing. And that part was genius. The drawing, not so much.
So on a scale of 1 to 10.
The drawing?
Yeah.
Oof.
I mean, what's the oofing about?
Because I love you, the drawing was a 10.
If you didn't love me?
A little 2.
That's so disrespectful. That's just it was way better than a 2.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm going to celebrate our differences. And our differences is what's a good drawing and what's not.
Well, next time I'm going to have a mirror do it.
Yes. Mimi can draw all day. What I would like is one of these episodes, you to do that again, draw it. Let's keep it. Let's bring it back for the people to see and let them judge.
I'll do it as an NFT.
That would be cheating. And I don't think that's the way to go. But, I'm with it. Whatever. I'm supporting you.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I just really been thinking about this all day.
Okay.
Like, I wanted to talk about like how each of us, how we grow. Like, don't things grow different? Like,
absolutely. I believe so.
Animals grow different from grass.
Like these plants.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are these real? Oh.
You got really distracted really fast. This one?
Not so much.
No, they're not.
So how do we grow in our truth?
But they grew. They grew.
They grew. But how do we grow as people? Like, how do we grow in our truth? Like, does that make sense? Like, this is something I just been thinking about. Like, how do we grow into our truth? Like, how do we become? What does that
mean? Grow in your truth.
Well, because we have multiple roles.
Okay.
And if we don't grow in our truth, if we don't grow in our assignment, in our avenue, then what good is it? It's like having two hairs coming out of the same pore. It gets clogged. And now you got a hair bump. Like, how do we grow in our truth, in our individual spaces, and not grow into each other? Like,
well, maybe that's knowing what your space is, like what my lane is, what your lane is, knowing that our lanes connect as well. But and correct me if I'm wrong, is that really the definition of growing into your truth? Is like, here is my mission, here is my purpose, and I'm owning what my purpose is. That's my truth.
you know what? You just made me rephrase it then. We grow in truth.
That's really good.
Like, in the truth of what it is, like just becoming transparent about it, like growing in truth. That's
sense.
A better statement, right? So growing in truth. So what does that mean to you if I say, okay, we're growing in truth?
I think that means growing individually and growing collectively, because my truth in just being Shaunie is one thing. My truth collaborates with being a part of Keion, right? That individual Shaunie and the collaborative Keion and Shaunie have to meet. So am I growing in truth in two areas that really is one bubble, but it's like, that's a complicated question.
Yeah, it made me think about how each of us has to grow in truth and grace in our multiple roles. Like, you know, if the truth is Shaunie came from Los Angeles, California, there are certain nuances about how you're raised in that city and that part of the world. The politics inform how you see the world. I grew up in Indiana, rural middle of America. Now, I am in the most predominantly Black and brown city called Gary, Indiana, along with Indianapolis. Outside of that, there are no other cities that had the dynamics that I grew up in. So you take this girl from arguably one of the most expensive, nicest, progressive cities in the entire country, and you connect her with this guy who comes from a place where 40% unemployment and poverty, and you've got cornfields, and you've got the only thing they cared about was basketball. You know, so we got our own truths. We've got our own truths. So I guess what I was thinking about today is like, how do you merge those together? What is the secret to taking the two different worlds and finding that truth, along with grace and how relationships come out with a mission and a purpose after that, if that makes sense.
I think it's goes back to committing to the goal. And the goal is whatever that partnership goal list is, right? We've committed to those goals. We have committed to the journey to get to those goals. And I think that advice, remember the couple, they were an older couple, and they said, the woman said, after 50 something years of marriage, what she figured out was that her husband had become 9 different people over those 50 different years. And she had to learn how to love each one of him. So that is true. We're going to grow. We're going to change. Things we liked last week, we're not going to like next year this time. And it's committing to those changes. It's committing to adapting to new environments. It's committing to your purpose might alter a little bit. Your purpose might have a new branch on that tree 5 years from now, or a few branches taken away. We are committed to whatever that journey is. And I think that's our truth. Our truth is maybe our commitment to our mission, and our commitment to our love, and our commitment to our partnership.
Yeah, that's literally an amazing perspective of growing together in grace and truth. See, well, I think it may be a little more difficult for you than me, because we come together and I have an assignment. Like, I got to do what I got to do. I'm a pastor. That's no secret. That's what I do. That's what I've been called to do. So I've been doing that since 14. I've been preaching since 1995.
Very true.
Now here you come being what everybody tags as First Lady. Okay. Now, what was the first thing I told you about being the first lady? Do you remember?
You said you don't have to be anybody's first lady, just be my wife.
Yeah. So how do you feel in the tug of war of your husband saying, just be my wife, and then everybody else is saying, you got to be first lady?
Yeah.
What does it feel like to be in between that tension?
I think you help in relieving the tension from me. I allow it sometimes. I allow myself to get a little I allow it to be heavy sometimes for me because I don't want to disappoint anybody, but I also don't want to meet expectations that I know I won't commit to or that just aren't me. I don't want to adapt to what other people think I should be or who I should be. I'm not going to do that, but I don't want to come across wrong or like this rebellious first lady in your space. So, I'll sometimes even ask you like, hey, so-and-so text me. How should I respond to this? Because that person might text me and it's just like real deep and real sanctified. And my response would be like, girl, happy Easter. You know what I'm saying? And they just gave me 3 scriptures and just said it so on this level of how am I supposed to respond to that? And you always say what you would say, like say, girl, happy Easter, like talk how you talk. And I'm like, you know what? If you're okay with it, I don't really care what anybody else thinks. And that's what I usually tell folks, like this first lady thing. I don't even like the name first lady. It insinuates that there's a second, third, fourth, and fifth. I don't know why it's a first lady.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Now. I ain't never heard that one before.
I'm just
Let's
saying,
talk about
why
it.
is it called? Why is the title first lady?
I think first positionally, not first historically. Like the set lady of the house, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But I get what you're saying, because remember, every woman who's ever been married to the president was the first lady at that time,
right?
Even though she's not the first lady in that house.
Is the vice president's wife the second lady?
She is.
That actually is a thing.
Second gentleman in this case.
We call her second lady?
No, second gentleman. Her husband, because she's the vice president, he's the second gentleman.
Well, oh yeah. I mean, if there was a woman, it would be second. I've never heard that. I mean, and I'm not saying it's not true. I've just never heard of somebody refer to her as second lady.
So you're right. In our context, well, the Speaker of the House is third in command. So I don't know if that's called third lady.
And who wants to be that? Who wants to be third lady?
Well,
welcome, third lady.
Yeah, if you look at it like that, if you look at it in a succession of historical context, it's ugly. But if you look at it like I'm third in command of the nation, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I just don't want to. I mean, you're right. Okay, first lady. I just don't like the name. And who came up with that? Because from what I understand, that is not biblical. A first lady.
That is not biblical. But we live in a colonialistic society. And so since we are a nation that is derived from kings and queens, certain languages that we use have stuck over historical data. But it is not a scriptural term. There's nowhere in the Bible where it says the pastor's wife is the first lady. It doesn't.
Since being a first lady is not even biblical, then who sets this protocol of what the expectations are of a first lady and what's, just all these expectations that the first lady is supposed to do?
Babe, I know it's exhausting for you. I do know that, but it's a cultural thing. Like, I see, you heard me say in our church, like, hey, this is not the first lady. This is my wife. But yet people still say, hey, first lady. That ought to show you it's cultural.
For sure.
They bring it in because of just how our world works. And then in church, you'd be surprised where you are a little different. There are some women who would go crazy if you didn't call them that.
Know.
They would go crazy. So and there are probably more who are apt to be desirable of the title than those who are not.
You're right. I agree with that.
And the people don't actually think that they're calling you something that's wrong. They actually are using it the same way a military person would say, hey, Colonel, hey, General.
Yeah.
So it's a handle that they're extending towards you as a way of respect, even though it feels foreign to your context. they're actually being respectful when
and
they
I
say
do
it.
gather absolutely everything you're saying. I mean, growing up in church, we called our first lady, first lady. I know it's a respect thing. It's for me, it's just uncomfortable. First lady is uncomfortable. And it's just one of those, like having somebody kind of cater to you all the time is uncomfortable. But that's just for me. And I do know there are plenty of women that just love being a first lady and take it all in. I've met several of them, that are just like, I live, breathe, and eat in this church and I love somebody carrying my purse and wiping my forehead with tissue. Not
For
me.
you. So I understand the tension that you have and the place you're in where you have to have the grace necessary to guide, and then you also have the truth that guides you, right? So you're in between that place. And let me first say to you, because this is something we talk about in our personal time, you benefit when you understand that I understand
That is so true.
what you're going through.
Very
so
correct.
I want to express to you that I have grown in that area and I do understand it. But I think that on the other side, now that's the glass however you look at it. Let me show you how I look at it from my side. How much of this are we going to take in and how much of this we're going to reject? Right?
Okay.
So they have the church at large has this cultural thing. Knowing that ministry and church is such pageantry that there are certain unexplained rules that when you walk into it that are already at the doorstep, that irregardless of what you like, love, or can't stand,
They're just there.
They're there. For instance, the Lord's Supper. We take the Lord's Supper. When we used to be in church, they used to have that tablecloth over it. And so I remember growing up and my pastor would be behind that tablecloth. I thought as a kid, it was dead people back there. I used to be scared of the Lord's Supper. He would be back there saying stuff like, and this is the death. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a dead person back there. And I would hear crackers crackling.
Yes, I remember
and he would
that.
be pouring wine and washing his hands. And so one day I did a study and I wanted to know, why in the world does he do all of that behind the curtain? And found out that the reason why the tablecloth was on the wine is because churches used to not have windows and the flies were getting the juice. So they put the tablecloth on it to protect it from the flies. And here we are in churches with windows and air conditioning with a tablecloth over it. So church is pageantry. There are things that just get passed
That's ridiculous.
on. The finger up.
Right.
You ever seen that in church?
Yes.
People get up. They used to do that because back in the old days of slavery, the slaves used to have to raise their finger and get permission from the master. And when the master pointed at them, then they had to walk out. That was asking for permission. We're still doing it right now as free people. Church is pageantry. So when you walk into it, now this is where I defend the church, because there's pageantry in every area. But it seems like when it comes to church, everybody wants the pageantry explained. There's pageantry on the road. Put your blinkers on. There's pageantry in every place. But we have to decide, like, how much of this do we take in and how much do we reject? And I love the fact that we walk in our M-frame relationship and we manage it to the best of our ability. And I say, well, how much of that do you want? Right?
You do.
How much of that do you want to reject? Because I will not allow anybody to put expectations on you that, number one, you can't meet, number two, you won't meet, and number three, you don't even know are supposed to be met.
Right. And I think you
giving
respect,
freedom.
you respect me in that space. You allow me to decide what it is I take and what it is I don't. I do appreciate that about you, because you're not being consumed by what they say, whatever it is they're saying. You're allowing me to figure it out and take my time and, whatever it is I want to do. I think you trust that I'm going to represent you to the best of my ability.
Absolutely.
I'm never going to embarrass you. I'm never going to, I'm just not going to show out. I show out, but I don't show out.
Oh, you've been raised right. Your mama, let me tell you something. You show out, I'm calling dear.
That part.
Now, everybody needs to know, if you need to get Shaunie right, all you got to do is call Dear Nelson. And Dear Nelson say to me, she say, Pastor, she did what?
Oh, yeah.
And then she get to going.
She
so
get to
deer
going.
is my ally.
Even though she acts up, I am my mother's child. She acts up, but she will get us right. We know not to embarrass deer, even in our adulthood. You're not going to embarrass
No, you
my
ain't
mama.
gonna. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
But so you grew up in the church,
right?
right? Your mom
Was the church pianist.
And y'all, by the way, every time I go to Shaunie's mama house, she got a grand piano in the living room. I get my guitar, and Mama is on the piano hitting a note to make sure I'm on key. Talking about, you're a little flat, Reverend. So your mom is the church pianist. I want everybody to know that my baby used to be the church secretary.
I did. I was the church secretary for probably almost 2 years. I think I was like 19, 20. That was a doozy.
That means you say everything.
What? Like, that was a lot. Because you know what? It's so, I talk about this all the time. Grace and church are just expected at a level that is almost unrealistic. And being the church secretary that young, I remember going home and telling my mom, like, I hate it there. Like, I grew up in this church and I loved it. Mm-hmm. But working there, I was like,
whole different experience.
What? Yeah. Like, the things people just expect you to just understand and love them through and just it'd be okay. This is not okay. And I was young knowing it wasn't okay. But just showing an immeasurable amount of grace is a special gift that you have and that I think is just expected at church. And I am more of this is how it is, and I accept it, but then I don't have to. And like you said to me, I think, grace is given. I think I'm more, grace is earned. Or even in staff meeting, it was a staff meeting, you said, some people, you meet them on the first time. There's some people that trust people right away. Some people need time. I'm a time. Mm-hmm. You might be I kind of trust them. They gave me a good feeling, or at least deserve to give them this trust until they break it.
No, I'm more of I don't have a reason to distrust you yet. And we're going to find out.
See? It's so awesome how you are able to, I'm like, I don't trust that person. I don't know them. And you are like, they haven't given me a reason to not trust them.
Yeah, I think everybody's different, right? Yeah, I think it's where we share in partnership and grow in the zone together, because I'm also aware that I should take longer looks at people because of the way you view life, and I hope in the reverse that your looks are not so long in the way that I view life. And again, the grow zone is, where's this place we're gonna meet in the middle to create our own identity and not a replication of somebody else. Like, I think that what we really are embarking on, like, as I hear you talk, you're kind of like this postmodern first lady. Like, you're not an antique in any way. And I'm not saying it as if it's new technology. It is like you are literally in real time defining your purpose and role, which is the only thing anybody in any area of life should be asked to do. And even when you step into religion, organized religion, no matter what the nuances are, you should be able to do the job the way you can do the job in the shoes that you feel. Yeah. And being anything other than authentic to yourself, it's not even going to benefit the people you serve.
Right. And you lose yourself.
And so who can lead anybody if they're lost themselves, right? So I love the fact that you meet the world where it is, that you are accepting. I love the fact that we go places. Let me tell you some of the joys of my heart, watching you hug everybody who comes up to you. So, because while we up here talking about first ladies and how we dress, like, what's more important, how much my outfit was or how many people I hugged in the pew? Right. So I'm more excited about the fact that I see your humanity, not your designers. Like, I love to see you hug people. I love to see you talk to anybody. And here you are actually known, right? Not known for being in the church, but actually known, which means your scrutiny and eyeballs are that much more elevated. And I don't care if we're in the airport. I don't care if we're at a church. I don't care if we're in a restaurant. to see you in this world, to be that type of touchable and reactional and relatable. To me, that's what a first lady is, right? You are extending yourself as an individual who embodies togetherness. You're leading and you're loving. So if anybody says to you like, hey, I think you should be more of a first lady, then your response should be, you're right. I'll do better at loving people. I'll do better at bringing people together. I'll do better at leading. Because it don't mean, not for our context, it don't mean your hat got to get bigger. It doesn't mean your dress has to get longer. It doesn't mean you got to wear pantyhose. Now, let me tell you, my mama used to wear pantyhose. She used to make me go get them from the penny candy store.
In the egg?
In the egg, and I had to go buy them. And whenever they would tear, she would get clear nail polish to keep them from running. Let me tell you what I used to do.
And your mama probably wore a slip.
Oh, my mama wore a slip. And when she called herself getting new, she started wearing knee highs. She went away from the stockings. And let me tell you what I used to do with her knee highs. I tied a knot in the end of them. It'd be my wave cap. You should have seen the waves I had, girl. You'd have been seasick. My hair was laid. It was fried, dyed, and laid to the side.
I love it.
So I mean, that's literally what I think a first lady is. Like, I think that it embodies the. Well, let me ask you this. Well, what do you think? You are a first lady, whether you want to be called it or not.
Right. I think that
faith ask of us?
I think all the things you described about me are just a part of faith. You know what I mean? Like loving people and being touchable, because it's nothing like having a faith leader or first lady leader that's just mean. You know what I mean? It's like you're not embodying what this is all about, which is faith. You're supposed to be the example, or one of the examples of what it is to be a part of the church, what it is to love God, what it is to have faith. And if you are untouchable, unrelatable, you can't smile, you're not going to give the folks a hug as you walk by and speak, then to me, you're not representing. It's pointless. Yeah. You just have a title, which I know some people are all in love with titles, which I think maybe is part of what makes it uncomfortable for me, because I don't care about the title part. I would just rather them be able to say, she represents what faith and loving God looks like. She puts into action. I always say that to people, even especially now coming out of this reality world and doing reality TV for so long. Someone asked me recently, like, how do you explain this new role of first lady? I don't explain it. I just show it. Like, I try to put into action what it is my life embodies right now. And that doesn't mean, quoting Bible scriptures and giving them a sermon. To me, that means loving them. To me, that means showing more grace than I did. To me, that means apologizing, even if I don't know what I did, because now I know that I've released whatever that is that I might have wronged you. It's just me representing this life as opposed to being able to define it in words to anybody.
I love it. I mean, at the end of the day, what you are is a child of God first, and what you are is a mother and a wife and a friend. That title, it doesn't make you any more of anything that you already are.
Absolutely.
Right? So here's you got like your biggest cheerleader over here telling you, like, you get asked that question. You have my permission if you need it. If you don't want it, however you want to look at it, you have my support to say, how do you explain first ladies? I don't. I define it.
Hello.
Just own your truth and just walk in it.
I like that. You had a little attitude.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want nobody walking around telling me I don't like people telling me how is a pastor supposed to dress.
Yeah.
How is a pastor supposed to act? So if I have latitude in my role, then you should have some in yours. Now, I've been doing this long enough to know that sometimes you may see people who are disenfranchised or mean, or however you can define it, because if you stay in it long enough, it can turn you into something that you didn't come into it. So what I want to say to you is, as you look at people who've been in it for a long time and they have characteristics that you don't like, my word to you is, don't let it turn you into that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Just make sure that because it can turn you. real quick because there is a vulnerability that happens in this space that doesn't happen in others. So that individual loving and togetherness and that leadership and all of those things that you embody and that you named, the goal of our Groow Zone is to make sure that we don't lack the pursuit of our goal in the face of our obstacles, and maintaining the vulnerability and the kindness. And you keep using this word grace, right? Freely you receive it, freely you give it. So I'm proud of you.
Why, thank you. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But I do think that, from all of this conversation we're having, it's being comfortable with grace and truth, right? Sometimes the grace part of this is uncomfortable. And the truth is it's uncomfortable. So being able to allow yourself to sit in what the truth is, what the grace is, and how that meets, and how you just need to be able to balance out how to handle both. So the truth is I am supposed to embody all these things that people think. And I have to show the grace that's just a cultural thing of how people think. And culture exists in faith. And patterns exist in faith. And that's something that I have to sit in. Like, you actually pointed out something to me a long time ago that you said some people, their way of serving is to serve you. Mm-hmm. And you have to allow people to fulfill their service and fulfill what they feel is their purpose. Their mm-hmm. purpose might be to serve. So allow them to do that. Mm-hmm. Even if, you might have to give them limitations, like, hey, okay, this is a little too much for me, but telling everybody I'm not that kind of first lady. Mm-hmm. You got to back off is a bit harsh, and I'm not showing the grace, because there's a way for me to show the grace where I'm comfortable, they're comfortable. I just have to get in that groove, and I think I'm kind of in it right now, where they're understanding me, I'm understanding them. And then when I say they, I mean like even, staff and people that work closely to us, to where I'm not being disrespectful to them serving, and being graceful in that space, I hope. Yeah.
So grace is a thing that we give. Higher form of communication is like what Solomon said, Lord, give me wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Right. So if I got wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, grace will be automatic where it needs to be given. But just having the wisdom to know when it should be and when it should not be given. Right. And when people serve anybody, there's just some people that just love to serve. Right.
That is true. Yeah.
But you wouldn't allow knowingly somebody who just came out of the restroom to serve you food. See, that's wisdom.
Right.
Right. So I'm not going to let you serve me, even though you got a heart to serve. You still have to be cleansed. You have to be in a position to deserve to be served. So that's where the wisdom comes in. Like, yeah, you might want to serve me, but you have
But you crazy.
Yeah, that's a reason not to be
servants that need to be vetted sometimes.
That's true.
That
is absolutely true.
I met a crazy server this weekend.
Where at?
Right here.
Wow.
This woman walks up to me and says all she wanted to do was serve. Like, please let me serve. I'll even stay after this event and help clean up. I'd never met this woman in my life. Mm-hmm. Total stranger. And I'm like, what do you do with that? Stick around. You can help pick up trash. I don't know, So I'm just like, oh, that's so nice. She goes on to tell me her story, and her story, without sharing it, because I'm sure she'll know it's her, a little nutty, like, to start to get a little concerned of my safety in that moment.
Can I give just some wisdom?
Yes.
Next time somebody comes to you and says, I want to serve, let them know, go to the kiosk. They have somebody who can take care of that.
Is that what it is? The kiosk?
Whatever word. You just give them go over there and see the person in the you can help me t-shirt or something like that. I can help you t-shirt.
I eventually got saved from her because some people wanted to take a picture. So I was rescued from that. But just know that I felt like I served by having to deal with the loony lady that approached me this weekend. She was pretty loony.
We're going to pray that God just continues to widen your territory.
I'm growing.
You're growing.
In the grow zone.
In the grow zone.
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
so listen, this has been a great conversation.
It has been.
Been a great conversation. Let me tell you something. If nobody tells you, I'm proud of you.
Thank you, babe.
If nobody gives you the words of affirmation you need to hear, let me be the one to tell you that the version of lady you are is enough for me.
Aw, and that's all. That's all I need.
So stay strong. Listen.
That's all I need. I grew today.
We grew today. Thank you all so much for being with us in the Grow Zone. This is fun. Don't forget to invite somebody in with you. This room is big enough for everybody you know. And you got somebody right now that you know needs this information. Don't try to tell it to them. Let them hear it from the horse's mouth. Tell them, come on over here and subscribe and tell somebody about it. Listen, we'd love to be a part of your life. This is the Grow Zone. This is my wife and I saying goodbye to you. We'll see you next time.